What's going on, Aries? It's your girl D here with 8th House Energy, here to bring you a Mercury Retrograde Sagittarius Lunar Eclipse reading. I'm combining the two because for those of you who already know and have some type of understanding of astrology, you know the opposite polarity of Gemini is Sagittarius. So Mercury Retrograde is in Gemini, and the lunar eclipse that's coming is in Sagittarius. So I do want to say before I forget, before I begin, Aries, welcome to the channel. If you're new, feel free to subscribe. We're going to be looking at the astrological placements in reference to how they could be affecting you or what you may be experiencing with this Mercury retrograde and this Sagittarius lunar eclipse. This is going to be a general reading. It does not matter what placement of Aries you have. If it resonates, take the information. All right. Check your other placements if it doesn't, because those are key as well. And Mercury. Let's talk about Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde, the actual retrograde dates are between May 29th and June 22nd. But with any planet that goes in retrograde, there is a pre-shadow stage. Okay, so the pre-shadow stage is 2 weeks before the actual date it goes into retrograde. So if it went in retrograde on the 29th, then we know that the 15th, 16th type energy time frame is when the pre-retrograde energies could begin. So some of you could be feeling the retrograde energies as early as the 15th of this month. And then there's also a post-shadow period, which is 2 weeks after. So the ending date for the hardcore meat and potatoes of the retrograde is June 22nd. But you can be feeling those energies up to July 6th. So the whole time frame in reference to when these Mercury energy, retrograde energies can be felt is from May 15th, 16th through July 6th, okay? Now, the Sagittarius lunar eclipse, that is going to be on the 29th, all right? And those are going to be heavy lunar energies, and you'll be feeling those strongly for the next 2 weeks. And then we have, I believe it's June 10th, which is the solar eclipse, because we'll have lunar eclipses. Whenever there's a lunar eclipse, automatically know 2 weeks later there's going to be a solar eclipse. So that's like June 10th or something like that. Forgive me for not knowing that date. But lunar eclipses and solar eclipses are different. They're both about moon energy, which is your emotions, your intuition, your creative imagination, and your creative efforts, as well as your thoughts. But lunar eclipses are similar to full moons, but they're just more potent. They are full moons, but they're a more potent full moon, because with full moons, when you're looking at emotions and feelings and manifesting and spell work and all of that stuff, you're looking to tap into getting rid of things you no longer need. So when we're dealing with lunar, we're dealing with emotions. So you want to get rid of emotions you no longer need. Well, here comes the popo. No, that's a ambulance. Okay. I don't know where they're going, but hopefully they're going to keep them going because they're awfully loud. All right, there we go, Aries. So, so for you, Mercury is in the house of Well, for all of us, Mercury is in the house of Gemini in retrograde. But for you, it's going to be the third house for you, okay? And then for the the lunar eclipse, that's going to be in the ninth house. Sagittarius rules the ninth house, right? Gemini rules the third house. Mercury is the ruling planet of Gemini, right? So when we look at that, we're looking at the comparison between the third and the ninth house. Now, when I say opposite polarity, for those of you who are not familiar, here is a natal chart. Okay, so if you draw a chart for yourself, like say you just draw it by hand, whether you go on computer or draw it by hand, the first thing you're going to do is draw a circle and divide it into 12 spots, 12 spaces. Each space represents a different area of our lives, which makes up your experience on this planet as a human being. So naturally, there's 12 signs and there's 12 houses. So this is why you have every sign in your chart. Okay, regardless to what, you may hear some people say. You have every sign in your chart. Now, if you pull up certain charts, you may not see certain signs, and that's because you're not using the date and the time you were born, the actual time you were born, as well as the location. If you pull that up, you will pull up a chart that has every sign in it, and then it has whatever planets you have based on where the stars were when you were born. So, of course, Aries is the first house. So we're talking about the third house for you because that's where Mercury is at. That's in Gemini. And then we're also talking about the opposite polarity, which is the ninth house. So when we talk about opposite polarities, if you draw a chart and there's 12 spaces, the opposite of 1 is 7. The opposite of 2 is 8. The opposite of 3 is 9. So no matter what sign I put here in this first house, of course I'm going to put Aries because we're doing an Aries sun sign. So Aries is naturally going to go here. But if I was doing a Sagittarius sun sign, Sagittarius would go here in the first house, and the opposite polarity would be the seventh house, and that's where Gemini and the Mercury retrograde would be if this was a Sagittarius sun sign I was reading for. But I won't get too deep into that because I don't want to, people who are not familiar, I don't want them to get too lost. So this is what a natal chart will look like, whether you draw it by hand or a computer pulls it up for you. So Aries is here, like I said. After Aries comes Taurus. After Taurus comes Gemini. Well, this is the house we're going to be dealing with, right? The opposite polarity of that is the ninth house, and that's where Sagittarius is, okay? Sagittarius is always the opposite polarity of Gemini, and Gemini is always the opposite polarity of Sagittarius. That does not change. Just like Aries, the opposite polarity of Aries is Libra. Libra is always going to be the opposite polarity of Aries. Aries is always going to be the opposite polarity of Libra. All right. Aries is about the self. Libra is about partnerships with other people. All right. Gemini is about your local environment where you grew up and where you live. And, the country you're in or the country you're currently living in. The opposite polarity is Sagittarius, which deals with foreign travel. The third house deals with your siblings. It deals with your extended family, your siblings, your stepbrothers and stepsisters, your regular brothers, regular sisters. It also deals with your aunties, your uncles, your cousins. All of that deals with the third house. The third house also deals with your formative education. So your pre-K up until your community college, where the opposite polarity of Sagittarius deals with your higher degrees, which is your masters and your PhDs, right? So those are like opposite energies of each other, right? You can deal with publishing in the third house as well, because Mercury's about communication. So say we deal with publishing here, we're going to deal with publishing on a elementary level. So say maybe you write books for kids, or you write books for textbooks for school age children from pre-K to local college. Here, the opposite energy, if you were a teacher, because that's what teachers fall under, the Gemini energy of communication, also could fall under Sag. But this is for the higher level of learning for the teacher. This is the master's program. This is the PhD. Okay? So opposite energies. Sagittarius also deals with wisdom. Okay? The third house, it could deal with common sense and logic, the facts of a situation. But wisdom here deals with the experiences and the emotions that came from experience that you had. It just goes to the higher mind. So the third house deals with the logical mind, and the ninth house deals with the higher mind, okay? So with that being said, Mercury's in the third house. So let's see what Mercury retrograde is looking like. This symbol, these are runes, R-U-N-E-S. It's another form of divination. What it is symbols that mean certain things. So this particular symbol came out reversed. In its upright form, this is what it looks like, and it's called the Manaz, M-A-N-N-A-Z as in zebra. It represents the letter M as in Mary. It's the rune number is number 20, and the theme is all about humanity. Okay, but it came out in reverse. So let me show you these are dope cards too. If you're interested in learning about runes, I suggest you go to Amazon and just type in some type in rune cards or a rune deck, and it'll come up. But it's a great way for you to, for those of you who do tarot or use cards and you want to add another form of divination to your repertoire. Now, here is the definition of this Manaz symbol in reverse. Okay, you can pause that and check that out, but I'll read it to you as well. It says disconnected from society, outcast, lacking a sense of self, unclear thinking, rational actions, going against your nature. Now we have that clarified with the 10 of Swords in reverse, and lo and behold, that is Mercury in Gemini. Okay, Mercury in Gemini with the 10 of Swords in reverse. And it's funny because Mercury's in retrograde, and this is representing it in retrograde when it's in reverse. So let's talk about this for a second, Aries. So disconnected from society, outcast. So for some of you, if we're looking at disconnecting from society, some of you, maybe when you were in school, like, because we're talking about the third house, where this talks about from pre-K to, your college years. College as in, your first 4 years of college. Maybe you were looked at as an outcast, or maybe, you didn't do well in school. Okay, some of you, maybe you didn't do too well in school. You didn't get good grades for whatever reason. For others of you, maybe in reference to your family, because the third house deals with your extended family, your sisters, brothers, your stepsisters, stepbrothers, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, your aunties, your uncles, your cousins, your nieces, your nephews. Maybe some of you are looked at as a black sheep in the family for whatever reason. Okay, for some of you, maybe because of the way you were treated as a child, you currently as an adult lack some sense of self. Maybe because of the emotions you felt because of the way you were treated by your family or the way you grew up, has you in a position where maybe sometimes you experience unclear thinking and irrational actions. Maybe that's why your family may feel the way that they feel about you. Maybe they think that you're too irrational, like you're too impulsive. Okay, and that you going against your nature. For some of you, this is internally with you. You may be going with the status quo, but in reality, that's not what you feel. So going against your nature, right? We have that clarified with the 10 of Swords in reverse. So this is you letting go of, I feel like, you letting go of the pain. Okay, because what Mercury retrograde is going to do is, as far as the mind and how we process things, like I was saying, this is the logical mind here. This is the higher mind. Now, in order for things to come from here and to go here with the thought process of a human being, this is where we get wisdom, through the ninth house. But we have to go through the third house first. So a thought comes in, right? So say, for example, I use this because this helps with people because, first of all, we're in Mercury retrograde. Exes do return from time to time. But this could also be about family members. So for some of you, family members that you fell apart from could be coming back around. Or you could be thinking about them and they could be thinking about you. Why? Because you have some unresolved emotional issues with that. So the reason you'll know that is because during a Mercury retrograde, what will happen is the things that you have not dealt with emotionally will be brought to the forefront of your mind. You'll keep thinking about this, like, damn, why do I keep thinking about this person? Or why I think about them? It's because you have some unresolved emotional attachment to it. And when I say unresolved, I mean, the third house deals with the logical mind. So the thought, you're dealing with facts. So the fact is that these people are your relatives. Those are the facts, right? As far as the 3D realm. Yes, this is my brother. Yes, this is my sister. Yes, this is my auntie, my uncle, my cousin, blah, 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 or whoever. It could be the combination of them, or it could just be one in particular that you may be having issues with. Yes, this is my aunt, right? So, for example, you and your aunt, maybe your aunt just never treated you right. Maybe your aunt, was lacked a sense of self, and maybe as a result she rubbed that in on you, or and so going against your nature, unclear thinking, irrational actions, what have you, right? So you and your auntie don't get along, right? But she's the one who raised you, for example. So you guys don't get along. So the fact is she raised you. Those are the facts. Mercury deals with the facts only. It does not deal with emotion. The fact is she raised you. The emotional piece to it is that she was not good to you. She was not kind to you. She was not emotionally nourishing. She may have been abusive, whomever. This is just an example. Plug anybody into the aunt equation if it's not the aunt, okay? It could be the cousin. Anyway, so the logical piece is that this is your aunt. The emotional piece is that she was not good to you. And say you're not able to get over that emotional piece. Maybe this is why you stepped away from the family, because nobody took your side. Or maybe they all ganged up on you because there could be some generational curses that go on that make this like this is okay, and how dare you, of all the family members, stand up and say something against it. Maybe for some of you, you didn't stand up and say anything against it. You're going against your nature. So maybe you want to stand up and say something about it, right? Because you still feel some way about it. And you'll know that when Mercury goes into retrograde, whatever you feel some sort of way about will come to the forefront of your mind, because that's Mercury saying, hey, we only deal with logic here. You need to get these emotions out of here. Okay? And the only reason you're having problems getting the emotions out of here is because you need to look at the lesson learned in the situation. What did you learn from this experience? Once you determine what you learn from an experience, then it will clear out of the logic mind and it will come into the higher mind, and it will be looked at as wisdom, because you can only get wisdom from experience, right? So what did you get out of the experience? And in order for you to really appreciate an experience, you have to have learned something from it. You have to have taken something from it. So maybe you learned that, you know what, it's her fault, it's not mine. I was a child, I didn't do anything wrong. She had issues. So it's like, okay, then now what you're doing with the Ten of Swords is you're letting go of that emotion. You're letting go of that energy. And now it's going from the logical mind to the higher mind. What you've learned about this is that some adults are just irresponsible. They just don't need to be around kids, or they just don't know how to, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is. Now, if it's something that you did that's your fault, and you're feeling guilt about it, it's going to come to your mind with Mercury retrograde. Maybe you did something to a relative, or y'all had a falling out and it was your fault. Or maybe you just feel compelled to apologize or want to right the wrong. It's going to come to the forefront of your mind, because Mercury's going to say, hello, didn't I tell you we don't deal with emotions here? We just deal with the facts. The fact is y'all got into an argument. The emotional piece is that you feel remorseful about what you said, or you feel remorseful about what they said. So Mercury's going to say, okay, well, what you going to do about it? Because I'm going to keep bringing this to the forefront of your mind until you deal with it. So you're looking at it like, okay, maybe I should go to apologize. Okay, but you have to look at, okay, why am I apologizing? What did I learn from it? What did I do? What could I have done differently? That's where you're taking what you experienced, and you're looking at the emotional piece of it, and you're taking the emotions out of it. You're empowering yourself, and you're turning it into wisdom, right? So when we look at the Sagittarius energy, the eclipse energy, remember, when we're talking about the eclipse energy, we're eclipsing out emotions and feelings that we've been bottling up that don't serve us. So the emotions in reference to this situation, right? And again, this is a hypothetical situation. It may not be yours. Just apply your situation to the scenario. The whole purpose of this is to show you how the energies work together, all right, to help you clear out any negative emotions that you still have about a situation. So when we look at the ninth house, okay, of Sagittarius, this is the rune that came out for this. Now, this rune is in its upright state this way. It came out in reverse. This rune is called Uraz. It's spelled U-R-A-Z. It is rune number 2, and it is the theme is about bison. Okay, so here it is as far as the reversed energy. So it says brute force, bullheaded, lacking assertiveness, strength without intellect, intimidation, stubborn. We have that clarified with the Page of Cups in reverse. Okay, so the Page of Cups energy could represent a child energy, maybe a child who did not get the emotional support that they needed as a child. Okay, so as a result, there's a lot of pain here because of that with the Ten of Swords reverse that you're trying to let go of. So you can use these, excuse me, can I grab a drink real quick? Sorry about that. So you can use the Sagittarius lunar eclipse energy to get rid of the bullheadedness that you may have built up because of the pain that you felt growing up as a child. So maybe you had lack of assertiveness because these people didn't show you any emotional nourishment or support. Maybe there was a lot of maybe there was physical abuse, okay? Because the sword energy could represent physical abuse as well. So there could have been some physical abuse, which represents strength without intellect. Like these people could have just been physically abusive. Some of you could have been in physical abusive situations. You could have been dealing with a relative or relatives who are very intimidating or stubborn. Or maybe as a result of the way that you've been treated, maybe you picked up these qualities because of what happened to you in your childhood with the Page of Cups in reverse. It could be that, these things happen to you and you're not wanting to pass that down to your children and act that way to your children. So what you may need to do is you may need to realize that these energies here, maybe you've picked them up and maybe that's why you need to let them go. You may be questioning yourself, why am I so bullheaded? Or why am I so aggressive, to people? Or the opposite. Why do I lack assertiveness? Why do I let people walk all over me? It's because that's what you were taught as a kid. Your family walked all over you and did whatever. And so they didn't care about your feelings. And so if you grow up in environments like that, you tend to grow up and attract people who treat you that way, especially if you've not recognized the pattern and you've not done anything to try to heal from it. So for some of you, you could be in relationships where people walk all over you, or it could be the opposite. You could be in relationships or attract relationships with people where there's physical altercations. Maybe you had a physical altercation with a relative. Okay, it could be any of these things, but this lunar eclipse energy is here to help you to let that go. So once you look at it logically from the Mercury energy, and you decide, okay, I'm going to let go of the pain of that, what you can do is you can process that pain completely by using the Sagittarius energy. Turn that into wisdom and take the pain away, take the emotion away. Because usually what happens with wisdom is you can look back at a situation and it doesn't hurt you like that anymore. Like you can talk about a situation like before, you may not have been able to talk about the situation without breaking down into tears, literally bawling, the things that happen to you. Once you gain wisdom, you can sit down and talk about it without crying. Sometimes you can just sit down and talk about it as a matter of fact. Like, okay, I could talk about it as simply as I could talk about pouring a glass of water. But it could have been something very traumatic, horrific, that, nobody would wish on their best friend. But because you learned from it, the pain of it subsided because you realized, hey, it wasn't my fault. There was nothing I can do. I was just being a kid doing what I was doing. And, my family's, they're assholes. Or, they're very, and it could have been something that's generational. Maybe this is how they learn to deal with things and how they learn to raise their kids. And you may say, I'm not doing that with my kid. I'm not doing that. So I need to deal with the emotional tie-ups that I had with this and let this go so that I don't raise my kid to be this way. So I'm not physically abusive to my kid. So I'm not, I don't lack the emotional capacity that my child needs from me, in their formative years, or however it works for you. Just apply whatever works. You'll know what Mercury wants you to fix because it's going to keep coming to your mind on the regular during this retrograde energy. All right, so start thinking about what it is that's coming to your mind that you may have some unresolved issues about. For a lot of you, it's family, or somebody maybe you grew up in kids. How can I say this? I'm stumbling over my words because my mind's going faster than my tongue can go. So forgive me when I channel. The energy just comes, and sometimes it's hard for me to keep up. But some of you may have experienced some things, childhood bullying. Is another thing I wanted to say in your formative years of school. And so, because of that, now you may be physically aggressive and people may be uncomfortable being around you and you may not know why, right? Or now you have a child and you don't want to be that way to your child. You're starting to realize maybe your child is saying, damn, Ma, why you so mean to me? Or why why you got to beat me like that? Or I don't know, whatever. Or maybe other people notice it and now they're bringing it to your attention, but it's coming to your attention in some way, shape, or form. Even if it's no more than this Mercury retrograde, bringing it to your forefront because you know what's right and what's wrong, regardless to what you experienced, So some of you could be going through that. Okay, that's just an example again. All right, but this is how you would apply whatever it is that Mercury wants you to think of. This is how you would apply it with these energies. So now let's go ahead and pull pull a card. This card is going to be a card that is going to give you a suggestion on how you may be able to navigate through the situation to move towards healing. We have the 7th house energy. Relating. So some of you, it could be that you could be the one, as a result of the way you were brought up, you could be very selfish, self-centered, and maybe you're realizing that maybe because you don't have any friends at this time, or you don't have anybody that you're in a relationship with, and maybe you want a relationship. So for some of you, you may need to implement the 7th house energy. The 7th house energy is all about partnerships in all shapes, forms, and sizes. It's about people working together, balancing the scales because it's ruled by the Libra energy of the Justice card. Okay, some of you, if you don't slow down and if you don't stop being so aggressive in whatever way, you could end up in jail. So this is another thing because the 7th house deals with court systems. Okay, it deals with politics. And it deals with the different types of relationships, whether it's a family relationship, whether it's a lover, whether it's friendship, whether it's business. Okay, so for some of you, maybe you are in prison or maybe you did do time in jail and you're realizing that it had a lot to do with the environment you grew up in, the family and members that you were around, things like that. I just gotta... For those of you, I don't know who this is for, but I just was told to put this out there. It's not going to be for everybody. This could be like 1 or 2 people. For some of you, maybe you were in a situation where you a relative was killed by another relative, okay, due to domestic violence. And some of you, as a result of that, were scarred as a kid. And so this could be why you are really not as assertive, because you are afraid of your own energy. You're afraid that you would get so angry that you may hurt someone. So as a result, what you may do is you may let people walk all over you. Okay, because that happens sometimes with the Libra energy of the seventh house. Sometimes the negative aspect of Libra, which is your opposite energy, is that, you know, you don't want confrontation. You want to try to get along with everybody. So sometimes you put yourself in a people pleasing energy where it's like, okay, well, I want this person to like me, so I'm going to do whatever I can. And some people just ain't going to like you, no matter what the hell you do. You know, but sometimes because you don't want confrontation or you don't want violence, you will concede to whatever it is that they want, even if you're going against your own nature, right? So some of you have done that. You've gone against your own nature because of the pain you felt inside, because of what may have happened in the past. Some of you could be in prison as a result of you maybe taking the life of a family member, or maybe you did something in childhood age where you were so aggressive. Maybe it was physical, and you could have actually hurt someone, or maybe you killed someone. That's for a few of you, not everybody. But these are some examples of what you could be experiencing or what you could be looking at with these energies based on where the planets lie and what houses they're in. So this is all about learning to get along with people, learning to accept people for who they are, also standing your ground. This is all about balancing in the relationships, okay? Balancing in saying, okay, well, I will give if you give. If you don't give, I won't. This is all about not being a people pleaser, trying to not cause confrontation. This is also about not being a bully and trying to get your way all the time, but respecting the energy of others. So it's one side of the fence for either, either way, depending on what your situation is. Either you can't be you have to calm down with being so aggressive, or you have to be more assertive and not let people push you around, okay, in every area of your life. So that's what I got for you, Aries, with this Sagittarius lunar eclipse and this Mercury retrograde energy in Gemini. If this resonated at all, feel free to click the like button. If you need a personal read, my information is in the box below. Don't forget to check your other placements, especially if you're dealing with some, demons. We all got demons, but if your demons are a little deep for you, you may want to check your other placements to see if there's any other information in the reading that may help you to, deal with what it is that you have to deal with, so that you can clear out that energy during the retrograde. Oh, did I tell you about writing the letter? Okay, so for some of you who, in the event that someone passed away and you can't apologize to them, or this person lives someplace else and you can't get access to them, maybe you did a person wrong. It doesn't have to be maybe they did you wrong, but if you did a person wrong and you want forgiveness from this person, or you want just forgiveness, period, because you realize that it was because you did it because you weren't mentally where you needed to be and you've evolved now. Okay, so what you may want to do is you may want to still write a letter, but this time what you're going to do is the night of the lunar eclipse, you're going to write the letter out, write what it is that you want to say to this person, every single thing you want to say, everything you ever felt, get it all out. It could be 2 to 3 pages long. Get it out, right? And what you're going to do is the night of the lunar eclipse, which is May 26th, you are going to go out at night, take a lighter, and go be safe, of course. And what you're going to do is you're going to call on your spirit guides, your guardian angels, and your ancestors. So you're going to say, to my benevolent ancestors, benevolent spirit guides, to the creator, the benevolent ancestors, benevolent spirit guides, benevolent guardian angels. I call on the benevolent spirit guides, benevolent guardian angels, and benevolent ancestors of, and you say that person's name. By universal law, the energies that represent that person will show up. Now, they won't show up in your face while you're standing there talking to someone, but they will show up in spirit in energetic form. Okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to read that letter. After you read it, you burn it. That message will get to that person, because just because they're not here in a physical form does not mean that they are still not here. Energy never dies. It just transforms. So our ancestors, our spirit guides, our guardian angels can hear us. If we call on the ancestors and spirit guides, or guardian angels of the people we did wrong, because they've transcended, or they're in some place where you can't get to them, you can do this and it'll help to start to clear. But you have to believe. If you don't believe in it, don't even bother with it, because it's not going to work. But if you need something, because you're remorseful and you're regretful and you want to let this person know that you're remorseful, even if they're gone, you know, this is something that you can do. All right. So if you need me, I'm at 8thhouseenergy@gmail.com. My information's in the box below. Love you, Aries. See you in the next reading.